Good evening. You're listening live to the Two Extreme Horror Show. Tonight's episode, Shakma, 1990. I'm your host, Rob. I have RDV and Professor Pix with me tonight. Gentlemen, we have a treat. We have one of the last 80-ish type When Animals Attack film here in Shakma about a killer baboon who goes on a killing spree and just murders and mutilates a bunch of really dumb LARPers in some college building, starring Roddy McDowell and the Blue Lagoon guy, Christopher Atkins, and a few other people that you may recognize if you're any sort of fan of 80s or 90s television back then too. So let me say hello to everybody starting to join our chat as we're here live on Sunday night. Gentlemen, I got to start off by saying this. It's a 10-minute movie. I'll let you, RDV, in a moment expand on that because I think it's a wonderful description of it. But here's the thing. On our Two Extreme Horror Show, we like to point out certain themes that come up with horror films or other films in general, whether it's something from sci-fi or comedy or from the 80s, which is our specialty. But for Shakma, I put it in When Animals Attack because the antagonist, in this case, Shakma, the killer baboon, who's been doped up on roids too, is not human, of course, and that just makes movies a little bit different because you can go, well, it's not like I can sympathize with the person or not or understand where they're coming from by today's standards. No, it's a friggin' force of nature that will destroy you. And the scariest thing about here is, and I cannot stress this enough for anybody that has not seen Shakma, yes, it's kind of dopey. Yes, it's kind of slow in spots. But Shakma is an honest-to-goodness God, real-life baboon. He was in a couple movies. This is his most infamous film. And the stories behind it, gentlemen, I'm going to reveal to you right now the fact that this was filmed here at Universal Studios Florida, just a few miles south of the Pine Hills Palace here, just west of Orlando, Florida. And we heard so much about Shakma while it was being filmed. I can't wait to share those stories with you. So, good evening, RDV. What's your initial thoughts on this?
Well, Shakma is like crazy. It's a baboon who's being brutally experimented on by these horrible humans, and then they write it off as being a failure. And the dude goes to lock him into this little closet next to the incinerator, and the little paw moves. And the guy's like, and the guy's like, what? And then he's looking at it, and then his girlfriend, who basically pops up behind him, scares the crap out of him. And he locks the door and stuff and closes it. I'm thinking, man, if the monkey would have stayed in the incinerator room, it'd be fine. But someone had to open the door. But yeah, they're basically the whole gist of this movie. These are all basically like college students, and they're working in a lab with this Ronnie McDonald, great actor. Yes. And they're gonna play D&D with tracking devices. So they're gonna divide the hospital into so 4 hours, and the whole goal is like you have to like save the princess and or whatever. So it's the one guy, he's the main guy. He's basically like heading on what is her name?
A totally inappropriate underage girl with the blue.
Yeah, Amanda Wiss, who's the main girl, and she's just terrified. And what's funny is, but when you see her like screaming, it's because she in real life, actually outside the production, it was noted that she was just deathly afraid of the animal.
Yes,
and his name's Typhoon in real life.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, she is afraid of him, and I was looking at the behind the scenes of this. And now when he jumps up and they move stuff, they actually had a baboon on a pole. A little puppet.
Well, we'll get into some of those stories because they're pretty squeamish. I mean, they're very, very intense.
But she plays Tracy. The girl named Ari Myers who plays Kim. Then there's Sorensen, who's the main guy, Roddy McDowell. Christopher Atkins is Sam. Sam likes Tracy. He even talks about it. He's like, hey, well, you can't work. You gotta stay home and have little Sams. Take care of them. And so I'm like, misogynist. That's right away. Yeah, then there's got some other guys and just really just unknowable people. Richard, Laura, Brenda, and Bradley. Rob. Rob bites the dust. Rob Morris, he plays Gary. But yeah, they're gonna play in there, and the baboon gets out. The one dude is a computer guy. He is such a creep. He's like, hey, what's that? I slipped the tracker in her pocket. I'm like, okay, that guy needs to be locked up.
Yeah,
this guy is a sexual predator.
People we all want to see die. So it follows the classic 80s trope of people never
Amanda,
get to give a rat's ass about.
I disagree though. Sam, he's a pompous dick, a retard. I don't mind him, But Amanda Wiss, aka Tracy,
she was a creeper playing the game, being the princess.
If it followed the actual rules,
Tracy wasn't the one being the princess.
Oh, excuse me.
That was I think Laura.
That was Kim. Kim.
Kim
was the princess, and she was hitting on the guy. Sam cared more about Tracy, and Tracy was not. Tracy was also a college student.
Yeah, Kim was high school.
Yeah.
But Tracy though, what they should have done with this movie is had Tracy be the final girl. That's what ruined this movie.
Well, this movie really has absolutely 100% nothing to do with the people in it. It's 100% all about Typhoon, which is Shakma, the baboon in here. So let's pivot over to Pixel. You've never seen this or heard of it, Pixel. I really drugged this one out. I was saving it in my back pocket for an evening like this. It happens to be Shakma's birthday. That's why I wanted to do it. I'm making that up, of course. But what was your initial impression, Pixel?
Well, the main thing the thing about Shakma that would be very terrifying is if I was a door, because all he does is hump doors the entire time. This movie, oh my gosh.
See, most people over the years since this movie's come out says that, he runs himself into a door. But here's the thing that really makes it scary. And if you ever go to watch or even just highlights of it, it makes the movie legitimately a lot more scarier. So the thing with Typhoon is obviously an animal, a baboon. They are one of the most aggressive primates there is, even more than like a human, I think. So the whole idea of this movie is that, okay, they're experimenting and the guy's experimenting on his aggression and, he dies or whatever. So they're going to incinerate him. And then of course he comes back to life with the little paw twitch that you see, which is just awesome as hell. And we don't care about these people. But in real life, here in Central Florida, because we've got the Gulf of Mexico and we got the ocean, the sea breezes meet because they go opposite each other or towards each other across the Central Florida. And that's why we have all the lightning in the summer, and we would get these pop-up thunderstorms around 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon for months on end, and then they die off in the fall. So when this movie was getting filmed, Universal Studios was putting out a few films, and this was being known as Hollywood East. There was a real sincere push because of the lack of unions and no state taxes for Florida to become an entertainment megaplex, visually speaking. And this movie, when Chris Atkins came on, I remember him talking about his experience, and he would say something along the lines of, yeah, the storm's afternoon, if you're not used to it, it's kind of scary. He goes, well, what's scary is they had the entire building and set when this was filmed on complete lockdown, because everything you see him do is legit. There's like one or two little spots where they have a dummy or whatever, and that's it. But to your point, Pixel, there's a scene in there, if you go back and watching him, where he's attacking the door, he drops a turd, and most of the time he's got like an erection. I mean, just because he's so literally physically aroused and stimulated. I don't mean sexually, but just so intense. And what happens apparently is the guy that is the handler, if you will, looks at that person like, okay, you're supposed to be in charge. You're the alpha. I will not follow anybody else at all. So it's like a dog relationship. A dog's a pack animal, looks at you as an owner and looks to you. And if you're not firm, you won't be able to do it. Totally different mentality than you have a cat. But apparently the handler had to be within like a foot or two of Shakma the entire time in here. And what he would do is he would like go behind the door that Shakma would attack, because he would go look for him. And if you couldn't get to him, he would attack it and just go batshit crazy. And so Shakma, apparently, like they said, they had all these safety protocols, because if he got a hold of you, he literally would rip your face off. And the fury that you see, that's not made up. It's scary that you can capture the viciousness of a baboon like this on film. When animals attack, whether it's spiders or other stuff, they're kind of neat, but it's just not the same thing as having practical effects and having this go on. It really is a gem for when animals attack. And like I say, I don't really care about any of the movie, but the death scenes are pretty good. But just seeing them on screen is so friggin' creepy. I mean, I don't know if you guys felt that. What did you think?
No, well, when I was, I actually read some of the trivia things on it. It apparently had two handlers. From what I've read, he had an alpha like you said, an alpha
Yeah.
trainer and a beta trainer. And the beta trainer would go behind the door and say Shakma's name, which angered Shakma. I'm sorry, Typhoon. And so Typhoon would attack a door. I mean, you're right. He is sexually aroused by the doors. So, no, I get that. But at the same time, just watching this movie the entire time, I just felt like I had no reason to care. It was getting through it. And then just to get through it, and I don't think we're going to go through each thing, so I'm just going to say it. Just for everyone to die, and I win, I win, I win, being the last things you hear as staring at a monkey doll. This is such bullshit.
It's tremendous. It is not bullshit. It is phenomenal. It is the absolute kind of trippy way to end a movie like this, because what, did you want Shakma to die? Did you want him to get all shot up like, the end of An American Werewolf in London? No, you want Shakma to maul all these people because they're useless, and you wanted everybody to die. Oh my God.
That's not true. I don't watch a horror movie hoping everyone will die. I'm hoping that people will smarten up and find a way. And the fact is that these people were so stupid, just utterly stupid around this animal, and it's just.
How so?
I disagree. The guy in the elevator had no idea that the monkey was even alive. When we went around, they had no idea. It was going to the elevator, and he got attacked right away, instantly.
Well, no, I'm not talking about him specifically, but you
said everyone, though. You can't don't say everybody was so stupid.
Fine, I'm sorry for generalizing.
Yeah,
but there was no like fighting back. This creature, I understand that they are incredibly aggressive, but there seemed to be no fight back. If you got jumped by Shakma, even if you are like bit, it's unbelievable that one of the guys there wouldn't try to throw a fist at Shakma.
You gotta realize, though.
I disagree. If you've been attacked by even a small dog, man, things can be vicious and penetrate you. And in the moment of shock and everything else there too, it's not like everybody's been attacked by an animal, but people that have, you can't disrespect the intensity that an animal brings to a fight.
You gotta also realize these aren't people who are like you're used to being in combat survival situation. These are just regular kids who probably just party and get drunk, have sex and all that stuff.
And we're saying LARPers because they don't say it's D&D, but they're not people that go looking for
my point is like, even a guy who's trained with a gun can still get killed by a baboon. Baboons are that lethal. They're not light animals. They're not like a cat you can hold in your 10 pounds. You're getting like 60 pounds or more at you. Sorry, man versus ape. Ape always wins. If you're not watching Planet of the Apes.
Well, no, look, let's back up a little bit. Let's put this in perspective, because this might help narrow it down to some stuff. When we talk about the 70s being really the greatest film decade technically, and I think that a very strong argument can be made for it, even though the 80s might be our favorite. Everyone always points to Jaws and how terrifying it was, and then of course you hear about how the Jaws robot itself really wasn't functional, or whatever the specifics are on it. So he wasn't on screen a lot, so it was very terrifying. I get it. Simple solution: get out of the friggin' water. And it's easy to sit here and say this in here. We'll get out of the stupid building. Well, it was locked. They had issues with it because of all that. So the game was obviously a contrived device for them to be kind of set up to do this, but. It's not like you had cell phones back then. These people, again, are all kind of being all into computers then was still relatively new. It wasn't necessarily mainstream. They were extremely expensive at the time. So all these researchers working and sucking up to their college professor so they can get jobs is very legitimate. And they didn't have a tough guy or person in their group that might go, screw this, let me go after Shakma. And I'm telling you, it's just one of those things where we talk about capturing the magic of something on screen, whether it's the natural lighting of something, or like when we're talking about action films on Kicking It, where we talk about actual people making contact, doing their own stunts. All those practical effects just make it so much more believable and interesting. The thing here with Shakma is that there's very few when animals attacks that deal with pretty much real animals that aren't like worms. Okay, there's a one called that, I think, in the 70s that's not bad for what it is, but it's kind of cheesy, but they make do with it. So this just isn't we got a slasher that's taking people out, calling and letting you know he's, in the next room or anything stupid that we've gotten accustomed to at this point in the 80s. No, it's just one of those things. It's like Piranha.
I also want to point out that a lot of people, when they saw the baboon, they thought he was a Shakma baboon, which is basically one of the deadliest baboons, the males.
Yes.
Because they have large, sharp canine teeth. We can easily injure predators. Even take on leopards. Their jaws break bones, so it makes sense if it gets on you, your neck is snapped or punctured. You're not gonna be able to, You're dead, dude.
No, the final guy got attacked.
He died. Yeah, he died. But the only reason
no, he got attacked once, didn't die.
But we gotta realize though, and
it was so stupid. He got to the phone, called 911, and just
I agree. That was.
But it was idiotic. He could have had an ambulance there, had police there. They would have taken the animal down, and he would have survived. But
the thing is,
I'm going to go after Shakma.
My thing is that
survivor's guilt isn't applicable here.
Pixel.
It's just so
Pixel. If he survived, they probably pinned it on him for the murder.
How?
Because he threw the monkey the monkey in the incinerator. Even if he survived, you're like.
No, when he called 911, he hadn't thrown the monkey in the incinerator.
I understand that,
he
but
went out to hunt the monkey.
And shut up for a second. I can explain. Yes, was that stupid of him? They call 911 and not respond. Yeah, that was pointless. The scene should have been deleted. There was a reason to even have it in there. But what they should have had in, if they're gonna have him try to call, the cord should have been chewed through from the monkey.
That
would have been more sense. But him tricking the monkey, seeing him and going through the mirror into the incinerator was smart. Yes,
absolutely, I agree.
But to have everyone survive though, no one. Like I said, he shouldn't have been after being bit once. If he got bit in the shoulder, that's one thing. But most people that got attacked were bit in the neck. They were not bit in the shoulder.
Yeah, but he didn't get bit until after he went out of the room to hunt Shakma.
So are you just triggered because he made one stupid decision?
Apparently, that's what it is.
At what point in this movie did you get triggered? Because if you were triggered at all, if you were in this movie, Shockwave would have taken advantage of your emotional hijackedness of your feeling there too. Because it's like, okay, I get you don't like the movie, that's fine. I still think it's a tremendous, absolute gem of a movie. Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out at what point did you say, "Wow, I really hate this movie"? How early in the film was that, Pixel?
Trailer.
Trailer's not the film.
I think it was the second door humping that I decided because it's just watching it. These people even though the older professor knew he was going into the floor, he saw the body there. He just walked into the elevator slowly, traumatized, and my gosh, I'm tired of stupid
people. You wouldn't be traumatized by seeing a dead body?
Yeah, right. No, well, plot twist. Pixel's from Florida. He kills people for a living. That's why he's that face.
I did not find this to be a gem. I found it to be atrocious.
What was atrocious about other than a stupid decision? What was bad about it? That's why we're here to discuss the film. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, you just said it was a 10-minute movie, which means most of the movie in itself is unnecessary.
Yeah, I said you could trim it down. Yes, you can trim a lot of it down because it's a stereotype.
Don't backtrack. I'm
not. If you shut up and let me talk, God, you're so butthurt. You won't let me talk. Jeez, no, it's a 10-minute movie. Yes. Is it bad? It's fantastically bad. Watch it with a friend. Watch it by yourself. I agree. It's not that great. If you watch it with friends, you can point out the stupid flaws and laugh at it. That's the whole point of it. It wasn't meant to be a masterpiece, man. God, get off your high horse, bro.
It's not even considered to be horror. It's considered a horror movie, which means in itself, it is supposed to be taken seriously.
Oh my gosh.
So you watch it. You're not supposed to sit down.
Pixel, I don't take you seriously. So what's the difference?
You never take me seriously. There's no difference there.
All right, let's go through a few
He's
of the.
got Shakma envy, bro.
Well, here's the thing. We talked about before when we do our top 10 Tuesdays, and we've reviewed all the best films of each of the years from the 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way up to now and all that. And we've done them several times in different through different lenses, right? One of the themes that came up is how in the 70s you had Halloween, which is just a smash hit slasher independent film from John Carpenter. And we talked that pretty much ever since then, slasher films and by the early to mid 80s got completely dumbed down, like the Friday the 13th franchise, where you're rooting for Jason in some creative way to kill some chick that you might get to see a little TNA of or whatever. And that was the attraction of the film in and of itself. You can talk about the writing and whether it was smart or clever or creative. I mean, I didn't want to hear any philosophical arguments while Shock was going around killing people. I wanted to see how the people were going to handle it, because the obvious thing is get out. And of course they really couldn't. So they're trying to figure stuff out, and they're all separated. And again, for the time, 1990, that was fairly realistic. Again, no cell phones, not a lot of phones going around, people that are not used to doing it. So it has still that sense of realism to it. But again, the horror element here, Pixel, is not, something supernatural or something that's so unbelievable to it. It's taking something that we've not seen a lot of on screen. There's not a lot of killer animal movies that have to do with primates per se like this. And they put it on there, and it's an actual real life baboon. And to see him act, whether you call it his natural environments or not, the fact that even with his handler, his alpha and his beta, getting them all triggered in this now, it's just damn scary. And I don't know, a lot of people go to the zoo now and they have their selfie sticks and they're taking pictures of stuff. It's totally different when you're out in the woods and all of a sudden you see a bear or you see some animal. Or down here in Florida, we got lots of critters that people freak out about. Been on golf courses with many a crocodile and stuff where you go, oh, it's a crocodile, it's not a big deal. But then a part of you realizes, wait a minute, if I do anything stupid, that crocodile could chase me down before I could get in my golf cart and go away or anything like that. I need to be smart. And we don't think about it down here, much as like hunters may not think about a bear, a certain kind that is more scared of you. But I don't know, the few scenes that I think are done really well in here, and this is why I said I like RDV's explanation of it being a 10-minute movie, is this. You know what you're going to get. These people are mostly going to die. But the raw intensity of Shakma going absolutely nuts for it is phenomenal. And again, something new, something refreshing, an idea and a twist that had never been done before. In 1990, they put on film. The acting's not horrible. Yes, it's low budget.
No,
it's not great. No. So there is a ton of material out there, much, much worse than this. And this was not made to be an A-list movie. No. So again, it's just one of those things where how much experience do you have with a baboon that you can actually say, you know what, we got a killer baboon here. We're going to try to make the meat and potatoes of the film showing this baboon's intensity. That's why it's going to be a horror film. How can we write and craft a film around it, knowing that in real life, if we're using a baboon, we have to make it somewhat believable? I think they succeeded in doing that. And they definitely didn't pull any punches when it comes to the acting where they could have got nobody. So they got Roddy McDowell, who, even though he was older at this time in his career, was fresh off of Fright Night, which is one of the best movies of the 80s and a tremendous horror film in its own right. He's on here. Again, many of the people on here, Chris Radkus from the Blue Lagoon and a few other B-type films in the 80s is there. Several other people in here too. So it's not like, they're nobodies that were like, yeah, it doesn't mean anything. These are significant actors that decided they were going to be in a horror movie about a killer baboon, and there must have been some element to it, because let's be honest, while it may not have been considered a great movie by you, Pixel, the scenes, like you say, with Shakma going crazy, even to this day when you watch them, you're like, that's pretty good. I like that. They captured some magic on film is what I'm trying to say.
Only we're going to prove them that this is a great film is if we put Pixel in a room with a Shakma and see how long he survives. Because it said baboons. Now that's what's one of them. Imagine getting a swarm of them.
See, these people though are supposed to be
idiots.
No, they're supposed. I wouldn't go talk in their cheese state.
Yeah, at least we don't die from monkeys, bro.
Die from lactose intolerance. No.
We brave the winter.
the at least the main guy is supposed to be working with Shakma directly. He's like
Sam.
almost like a trainer to him. Sam is almost like a trainer, but these other people are the ones carting him around, and thus they should have some sort of idea of the animal that they're working with.
How would they? They've never worked with one before. It's a lab specimen. The fact is, you could say that the real horror of this movie and why everything literally goes crazy is not Shakma's fault, is the fact that the guy was a softy ass with Shakma, and that's why he was saying, I don't know if I'll ever be able to make it because I get attached. It's like being on the farm and considering your livestock pets and naming them and stuff like that. It's going to be very difficult for you to kill them and, prep them and have them for dinner. I mean, seriously, that is very apparent early on.
Like I said, when they called the cops, he should have said that, but he should have let him know what's going on, situation, and then he just went, continued on to go to kill Shakma himself because he felt guilt tripped. Yeah, either cut that scene or change it so he actually, said, yeah, this is going on, so they show up at the end because him telling, he told Kim to get a hold of Richard's girlfriend, and she's like, stupid nerds, and she drives away. I was like, well, first of all, Richard should never would have went out with her. I would have dumped her the first minute and giving her the lip because I want to play a game with my friends. Sorry, you're gone. But yeah, these are throwaway characters. It's not meant to be. If you wanted to have them characters you actually cared about, they wouldn't be playing like live action D&D. Sorry, you wouldn't be doing that. This is and you say these are horrible characters. Have you ever watched Friday the 13th?
I didn't say they were horrible characters. I said they were stupid. There's a difference.
What do you think Friday the 13th is?
There are some
Halloween.
crappy people in Friday the 13th.
You can't tell me that these are any worse.
There are
you are a snob.
I'm
sorry.
The first two that die, I absolutely I didn't like them at all. So okay. But I didn't dislike either of the women in the movie. I didn't dislike what's his name? The professor who's running, the doctor who's running the entire experiment and the game. The game master.
So you did like aspects of the movie.
Yeah, but
I knew it. You can't say it sucks and not like it.
The movie good.
Oh, but you like parts of it though. If a movie was horrible,
you made a point earlier about how they would have pinned it all on what's his name if he survived.
That's usually how it goes. We watched it with the movie Intruder. These low budgets movie like this, and I stretch low budget because it's word per they said they spent over $1.5 million on this. Why? It all went to freaking Shakma.
It's a lot of flesh. Man. He's a baboon.
But honestly, the monkey, he just wanted to have friends. He has a little bear over there, and he just wanted to hug. That's all it was.
The other thing that's being glossed over with this movie is the fact that it's an outright outside of Rocky IV with Drago and the whole, natural versus man-made fight, between Ivan Drago and Rocky is here. They talk about steroids, they talk about working on animals, and it's an allegory basically for a super soldier just using animals. And I thought that was kind of interesting there too. But
Rob,
yeah,
they need to remake this movie now with today's children, today's college age kids, and just to see how fast he kills them.
Yeah, it wouldn't
even last a minute. But
right,
the
Shakma House of Horror is what I want.
I have to bring up the fact that you can't pin this murder on any of these murders on Sam because unlike Intruder, where it's knives and using tools and stuff, Shakma's a monkey. You're absolutely right,
bro. You said it's a bad movie. What's the difference?
It's easy to prove that an animal is the one who bit into this guy. He would have absolutely been fine.
But you can't do that. But sorry. You're saying that you can't pin him on him, but you still have a problem with him not calling the cops and that. So you're gonna get the same treatment. Whether he calls the cops and they talk to him or he doesn't call the cops. Either way, you don't like this movie. So what's the difference?
Well, here's the thing.
I feel like if Sam had survived, there would have been some redeeming.
If Sam would have
quality
survived, he
to
would have
it.
killed himself. Because he's the one to cause this whole entire mess. That's why he had guilt. That's why he was guilt tripped into basically taking down the monkey himself. He wanted to shock the monkey.
I agree with you totally too. That's Peter Gabriel, by the way, Pixel. From Solo Efforts. Who was he with before? Genesis. Who replaced him? Phil Collins. It was unstoppable in the 80s. That being said, Pixel, it's like this. I don't know if sometimes when we watch films, I think this is a legitimate point, no matter what kind of film it is, we think we have an expectation of what's going to happen, and then if it doesn't happen, we go, well, that's stupid, or that sucks, or we go, oh, that makes sense. You know, we've talked about Cobra Kai, no surprises in season 3. To me, I'm not disappointed by that. I don't know how this movie could have been really made any better, to be honest with you. Higher body count? No, not automatically.
More boom shots?
Well, I think that, you know, here's the thing. In the 80s, a little TNA and violence definitely were like PG level kind of stuff here too. So a movie like this today, I think people would think it's dumb and it's silly. But again, just the few minutes that Shakma's on screen, the way he looks and all that is just absolutely stunning. It's incredible to me. And I'll never forget being at a zoo with somebody that I knew, and I actually got to get very, very close to a lion in summer as opposed to a lion in winter. That's a film, by the way, for you people that don't know. Very good one, too. And I just remember once I got to a certain distance, I'm like, okay, it's a lion. It's neat. It's cute. I'm getting up close. And then I got to a certain point where I just, on a primal level, felt like pissing my pants because I thought, if he wanted to, if he just nuzzled up against me, he could knock me over and break me in half. He's so friggin' big and powerful. And it's one of those things that you just don't get, no matter how much we have this great THX sound in movie theaters, no matter how much they record animals and use that stuff for Godzilla or King Kong or something else. There's just something primal about capturing nature in all its glory there. And if it meant this movie meant he was bashing up against doors and that was 90% of it, I'm okay with that. Because like I say, they caught that, and it's, you know, Shakma's going to Shakma, you know, he's not going to sit there and have anything fulfilling about him. We understand what's coming up from him, and he's not the good guy, the bad guy. He's just the baboon with the killing streak, and it's as simple as that. It really almost is the 80s simplified, dumbed down version of Jack London's To Build a Fire, Man versus Nature. You don't respect it, it's going to kick your ass and win every single time. That's just how it is.
Like it had similar themes as far as like the 70s too. When she was hiding inside the cabinet and he's peeling it off with his mouth, the boards. I kept thinking, here is Jack. It's like freaking shining. But it kind of, like I said, it kind of had the 70s, 80s feel. They're corny. They're not that. You think, oh, this isn't really that scary, anything. But you got to realize that most people think they're an expert when it comes to taking down baboons. Most people shit their pants. This one's also like a super soldier freaking baboon.
Yes.
So it's like
he has levels of aggression never seen before in the world's most deadliest primate.
Well, and how fast they are too. So even if you call the cops, you think the cops would stand a chance? Most cops aren't trained to deal with animals.
I'm not taking care of that. Let's call animal control. You think?
Yeah, get animal control there. They're going to get something there to do with the
there's a cute little puppy. We've seen that before with animal movies. Rob did a review about that. The guys got killed in the garage.
Man's Best Friend, a tremendous Lance Henriksen.
Yes.
One of the more popular films here on the Xtreme Movie Show. Well, as we get close to ending this up here, let's just kind of take a step back from Shakma itself and just sort of do some comparisons. Okay, I mentioned before in animals attacks, not necessarily a very common theme, and it doesn't have to be horror. We talked about how in the 60s and 70s, no matter what your political persuasion is, a lot of films, started off with, man was wrong, so we're going to have this nuclear threat sort of thing, making animals bigger. We have your natural disaster films, which are always interesting, just the spectacle of them. Those are really popular in the 70s. 80s is a little bit more of the supernatural and the cult a little bit, but again, you get the occasional animal attack one. I think in the 90s, the stuff kind of goes into man with serial killers and the stuff that was going on in the 90s, and then pretty much not much of anything since 2000. Things have gotten very sanitized and clean on TV. And, when you have sexy serial killers on television shows these days, glamorizing everything about it rather than getting into the disgusting nature of what's really going on, I think it just ruins the effectiveness of the evil and horror that's in there, or in this case, the pure power and fury that is Shakma in nature in itself. But let's talk about a movie that basically helped us launch this channel here, the Xtreme Movie Show. My fury and anger over a very disgusting Hollywood film called The Meg in there is really Jaws for the modern age, but there's literally no blood, no violence. I don't think anybody technically dies on there. Maybe they get swallowed up whole, but you see nothing happen in there. It's an infuriatingly horrible film with like $200 million budget, whatever it is. It's a piece of crap. It sucks. Shockwave is 100 times better than this film, and it's not even close. Am I wrong, Pixel?
Wholeheartedly.
Wholeheartedly. Name one redeeming quality about The Meg. Was it the CGI shark? I'm sorry. Was it the swimming dog that lives? Was it the hundreds of people on the beach that could have gotten mowed down, which we want?
It was the hot Japanese girl who gets at the end.
That is a redeeming quality right there. But I enjoyed watching The Meg. I felt the intensity of when they had their action scenes. In Shakma, I just was sitting there and I was watching it, and I just
the CGI shark.
I will agree though because I have a fear of the ocean. The Meg is in that respect when they're the first opening scene, they're in the water and something's moving. I'm like, oh, you're screwed. that was I don't like underwater stuff like that. Like I've seen The Abyss and stuff. I hate that stuff. It's like whenever there's because I put myself in that situation. If you're underwater and you're in a small little capsule, something bigger is outside. That just freaks the heck me out. But even locked in a room with a freaking monkey, dude, I don't care. Give me a chimpanzee, Travis. Remember you bit the lady's face off? Now imagine if they didn't show Lagoon in this movie. If they would have showed more of that, like, oh my gosh, her eyes ripped out and stuff, more just like shocking scenes like that, they probably would have been much more like people like, oh my gosh, you don't care about how stupid they are, but like you feel sorry for these people because they're getting ripped apart. And then,
but Shakma's weakness was a door. All they had to do was sit at a door the entire night, and they would have been fine because he wasn't breaking down the door.
Realize that's most horror movies. If they don't do stupid things, there's no movie. You ever see the Geico commercial? Let's go hide. Wait, there's a killer.
You just want them to go in the closet and sit there for the weekend, 48 hours.
No, I don't think the weekend. I think there would have been people in the building the next morning.
It's called campus. It's closed off. They specifically had that so they could have that time to themselves.
It was for that night. I was pretty sure, just that night.
That was for the weekend.
It's still a place with 6 floors, so they have tons of people that work there.
Not
it
true.
Isn't just this small group.
Not true in colleges, though. And when you have specialty designed labs for it, too, only certain people have permission to go in. And usually cleaning crews don't necessarily always work on a weekend. I went to one of the biggest colleges in Florida and in the nation, and I did research in labs. And I will tell you, on the second, third floor where I was at, you go, wow, there's 20, 30,000 people on campus right now. Felt like a ghost town because people just don't go in that building if they have nothing related to it. Seriously.
I just got to say, though, Christopher Atkins went from being stuck on an island with Brooke Shields to being killed by a monkey.
The few things as we finish up here that I'll say about the film is, we're kind of hyping up a little bit. It's one of the films that don't get talked about a lot because it's a baboon. It's different than what we expect. It's not supernatural. It doesn't fit in with what we were accustomed to in the 80s, right? But it's kind of special near and dear to my heart because, again, the practical effects, capturing an animal like this on film is fantastic. It's just a tremendous film. Anybody that enjoys this kind of stuff, you owe it to yourself to watch it rather than procedural CGI generated nonsense that's out there like The Meg that has absolutely no tension at all or whatever. I mean, it's a great little film to watch every now and then.
The real reason that Rob likes because you have Aaron Myers from Katie and Alley.
I never watched that, sir. No. All right, final thoughts. I want to close with RDV. So Pixel, go ahead. Final thoughts on Shakma and all its redeeming qualities.
I don't think it has that many redeeming qualities, but I just didn't care for it. I was watching and I was bored most of the movie. And I'm sorry, 10 minutes of a monkey humping a door is not that exciting to me.
It wasn't 10
That's all I
minutes.
can say.
Okay. Well, Pixel did not like it. So RDV, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Watch this movie. Get some popcorn. Get your friends, man. You're in for good treats. Ronnie McDowell, he plays whatever role he's in. He plays a good guy. I love his when he's shocked face when he finally sees like the monkey, or I should go. Sorry, so I'm gonna call monkey Baboon. I don't want to be a species. It's just look. His acting is superb in this. Typhoon, great actor. He deserves a sequel or a prequel. You know, they should have had spinoffs in this. You should have had like Shakma's back. Shakma 2. You know, you can't kill him. He survived the flames. That would have been better too. Imagine if he just burst out of the door, just on fire, jumping at Christopher Atkins and killing him, and then it cuts to black.
I agree.
That would have been awesome.
Just like ending of Halloween 2, where Michael Myers comes out of the flames and he's still on fire, and then Shakma just screams. Or better yet, you have the name Shakma being screamed out like it is at the end of the trailer. Because Pixel, I know I said final thoughts, but you've got to admit it is one of the best horror movies of all time. You got to admit that the trailer is phenomenal.
I didn't see the trailer.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing the word. Go see Shakma. Shakma is incredible. It's phenomenal. It will not let you down. It's better than any mummy movie. It's better than any Meg shark type movie. It's probably one of the best animal attacks movies in the past 30 years, and I am not exaggerating. You owe it to yourself to see it. Eric, you'll be in a special place and a special time. I know you're a big Commando fan. I know you're a big Kolchak fan. I know you alone, Sir Eric, in chat here will appreciate what Shakma is bringing to the table or to the film screen near you. All right, thank you everybody for listening, and everybody who's going to be listening to this in the future. Shakma is great. Leave your comments below, and as always, stay extreme. Have a good night, everybody.
I win.
I win.
It's a They Live ripoff.
Shakma!